As an only child that grew up pretty much exclusively on the internet, I've been thinking a lot about media recently and how it affects people. And humans have always been creating technology that helps us in all sorts of different ways, but I think specifically media is interesting to me because all my formative experiences growing up are all specific to the media that I was consuming. When I think of things that are super memorable for me growing up, it all has to do with what games was I playing at the time, what shows was I watching, what YouTubers was I watching, stuff like that. And technology has always been advancing and kind of increasingly advancing faster, but I think it's something more interesting with media in particular because media is the way we communicate with each other, it's the way we express ourselves. Now, the reason I wanted to make this video is because I can feel how fast media is changing. I can feel the forms of entertainment that I once was enjoying when I was a kid. It's shifting. It's different now. People aren't watching YouTube videos, they're watching TikToks and Instagram Reels and stuff like that. And that shift has been happening for a while, the shift to short form content, but it's still weird for me to see. I can remember when I was a kid and I pretty much only watched YouTube. I remember people would say, oh, like the attention spans are getting shorter and shorter, and it's crazy how kids don't watch movies anymore and kids don't watch TV shows anymore, even though I did watch TV shows, but that's besides the point. Is people were freaking out about kids watching 20-minute videos saying the attention span was getting shorter, and now we're at the point where not just kids, adults, everybody is just kind of watching this short form content now, and I don't really know where we're gonna go as a society from here. And the way I've been thinking about this is by comparing it to the Big Bang. And the Big Bang is a theory that basically says that the universe all started in one condensed hot spot, and an explosion from there caused the ripple effect, and we've been expanding ever since, and we're still expanding. And in the theory, it says that we've been, ever since we started expanding, it's been going faster and faster and faster. And that's the way I think about, that's kind of how I think about what's happened with media recently, is that, you know, whenever this all started with books or cave paintings a long time ago, that we've been going faster and faster and faster and faster. And we're at this point now where someone like me can notice the rapid change. And I think the reason I notice it so much is because for somebody like me, I can see myself changing the forms of media that I consume. And I don't know if that was the case as much for people of past generations. It definitely was, but I don't know if it was as extreme as it's been for me. When I was a kid, I read a bunch of books, and everything was still pretty analog in schools. I can remember, you know, like taking the attendance down. It was a paper thing. Um, and by the time I got to high school, that wasn't the case anymore. Everything was online. And by the time I was at the end of high school, AI was taking over. Everyone was using ChatGPT to do all their work, which is a rapid shift right there. That doesn't even have to do with the media that I'm consuming. That's just kind of the way the world was. But even with the media that was being consumed, I remember when I was a kid, people still watch TV shows, and maybe if you had unrestricted internet access, you would watch YouTube. And by the time I got to high school, everybody, like I said, just short form content, everybody TikTok or Instagram Reels. So yeah, that was pretty weird to see, honestly. And this shift was really difficult for me, honestly, because I was so set in my ways with the type of media that I consumed, and I still am, that when these things started to shift, I had a hard time trying to communicate with other people, I think. Something, though, I want to talk about that I think is both positive and negative about this is there's more niches now. I think back in the day when there wasn't as much media to go around, there wasn't as much content to go around, that there wasn't going to be the same level of there's something for everybody. I think nowadays and within the past 15-20 years, you can really look for a community, and there is a community online of whatever niche interest you have. But I guess what I'd like to say is I'm just curious to see where this goes. Like 10 years from now, what are people going to be consuming? If we got to this point where a 6-second video is deemed the best way to make money, and that's the way all these companies are kind of shaping their content, I don't know where we go from there. Like, because it can't really get any shorter. We can get a different type of media. Um, But what is that? I don't know what that would be. Like, something I've thought about is when I was a kid, I read a ton of books, and I don't think that would be the case now if I was born 10 years later, 15 years later. I don't think I'd be doing that. And I also wonder how much of what actually happens in the future is going to have to do with our attitude collectively towards it, because one of the biggest things I notice when I'm talking to my dad is that he's 40 years older than me, so he's a lot older than me, is that when he was growing up, there was this attitude that the future was kind of going to be this great place and it was going to be this cool thing. Even with dystopian pieces of media, there was this sort of collective attitude this collective excitement for the future, and I feel like that has completely died. I don't see any of that in my generation or, the people younger than me. All in all, I don't know how much I've run around in circles during this video, but the final question I guess I'm thinking about is, when will this kill us? The acceleration of media has affected us poorly, I think. I think it's made people less happy. I think people are having a harder time now despite living a quote-unquote easier life, and at what point will this be the end of us, if it is? Or will something else? I don't know. But yeah, that's it. I'm done for now. See ya.